Hey church, welcome back to chapter 3 on our journey through the book of James. It's study season, it's 2025, and I'm not introducing the man to my right again today because hopefully by now you're beginning to get to know Pastor Lee Sykes. We're going to jump straight into James.
Sounds good.
And we're not going to talk too much because I'm scared of doing that because the topic of today is taming the tongue. But actually it begins in verse 1 with this verse that I'd love to just talk to you about. And it says, "Not many of you should become teachers, my fellow believers, because you know that we who teach will be judged more strictly." What's going on? What do you think's happening here? What's James talking to?
Something interesting with this. Do you know that the word rabbi means great one?
Yeah.
So parents with their kids, their greatest aspiration for a Jewish parent was for their kid to become a rabbi. So it was a huge aspiration to become a great one. That's what it means.
Okay.
And James is going, no, you don't want that because of the importance of being judged by what you say. So that's where he starts with this. Now, don't have that aspiration necessarily.
So in the context of the day, it's not, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a firefighter. It's,
rabbi.
I want to be a rabbi. And it means great one.
Means great one.
So there's this aspiration in the community to aspire for that.
And for your
James is going,
children.
hey,
Yep.
watch out here. That comes with responsibility.
Danger.
But it's not really all that he's talking about here. He begins to then move on into the power of the tongue, which we've seen Jesus talk about as well. And it almost seems like he's unpacking that a little bit further, some of his teaching in Matthew.
Definitely.
Could you summarize what's going on in this chapter for us?
It actually makes me wonder, did someone say something? What did you say? What did you say in the local church at the time? It's the whole loose lips, sink ships.
That's it.
Guys, come on. They might not have had that saying back in the day. But it makes you wonder if something's happened. I'm sure there were things that happened. It seems like a rant, like an angry rant. But when you study it, at the same time, it's quite profound and it's got a lot of good teaching content there. He's not just, he is ranting a bit. Yeah. It's an issue.
Yeah.
But it's obviously an issue then as it is now.
Yeah.
The things we say.
I mean, we know it's an issue now, don't we?
Yeah.
Gossip media, just gossiping people in the church, or just the way that we speak about life, speak about people. This isn't just new in James's time. Even as we look to the Old Testament, we see Proverbs, the wise man stays silent. We'll consider, you seem more wise being quiet than you are saying stuff.
Yeah, then open your mouth and, remove all doubt, something about being a fool.
Yeah. And so the tongue is obviously a powerful tool at our disposal.
Yeah.
Powerful for destruction, powerful for bringing
all sorts
life. How have you seen that at work, in the churches you've been part of and even in your own life?
Well, here's one thing straight up. Have a think about what brings a church down. Could be, financial impropriety, other scandals and all sorts of things. But by and large, what brings a church down is what people say. It can bring a church down. And I think that's the heart of this.
Yeah.
And an issue for the churches at that time, just as today, is when what you say is out of control, it can actually bring the whole church down.
Yeah.
And we all need to sober up.
Yep.
And out of that context, he sort of then starts to speak into it in a very profound, a ranty yet profound way.
Yeah. What are some of the tips that he has or lessons we can learn?
I think the summary would be along that lines of just the incredible influence, for good or bad, that the tongue has.
Yeah.
So he kind of gives the warning of the bad influence it has. But then in a sense, it's positive. It's mostly negative, but there is a positive sense. I find it really interesting, this kind of idea of if you can control your tongue, you can control your whole self, your whole being, your whole body. It's like, can you imagine going to the gym and your personal trainer says, well, we're just going to work on your little finger today.
Yes.
Like, what?
Yeah.
If we can get that little finger sorted out, your whole body will be pumped.
Yeah.
And you think, what? But with the tongue, he's basically saying if you can get your tongue under control and used well, your whole being, your whole life, everything then can be under check.
He goes even as far to say you'd be perfect if you could.
Yeah, he
completely
does.
Control the tongue.
This absolute expression of perfection or completion, your whole self. So he's not mucking about.
Nah. And I'm hearing the
serious.
voices, as we talked about church and how what we say about church can ultimately bring it down, or what we say about people can bring them down. I hear the voice of someone going, yeah, but it's true. Or yeah, but or what if I say nothing? Like how would you disciple someone through those kind of scenarios?
Sometimes using words like the difference between honesty, candor, sometimes honesty is used as a front for being unfiltered.
Yeah. I mean, it's true, isn't it?
And they don't have that. James didn't have the language filtered and unfiltered, but if he was living in our day, I'm sure in this passage he'd say, look, you do actually have to filter what you say.
Yeah.
Just because something's true doesn't give you a license to put it out there.
Yeah, that's very true.
And that's why the second half of the chapter is important, because he moves from this very practical issue of what we say, but then, as he always does, he actually comes into the heart of the person, the character of the person, the
Speak
wisdom
to that.
of a person.
Yeah, what's going on as he closes there?
It's really interesting because there's these two main sections, the tongue one, which is quite a long rant, profound, yet a rant, and then the second section which talks about true wisdom from heaven. But there's actually a little pivot in the middle where he talks about how can and it's quoting Jesus a bit actually, how can a grapevine produce thorns and all this sort of thing. So the idea and the pivot is, James says, what comes out of your mouth is the content of what's actually in your heart. So you've got to address your heart in order to address your speech. And then from that pivot, he goes into this idea of being wise, a person of wisdom. That's what's in our heart. Peace-loving, submissive, humble, and again, this theme of how we relate to other people. So he starts with this tongue. He talks about the heart, and then there's this great end section there or finish section about this wise person who's really trying to be a powerful picture, a spring of clear water. So if I as a person am clean and clear and living wisely with strong character, then what flows out of me and off my tongue will
be of that same substance.
So there's even though the chapter seems largely negative, it's actually quite a positive direction, instruction.
Empowering. If I want to speak life, it's not just my words, but it's the position of my heart.
Get your heart right. And this whole theme of humility. And, their day, our day, the issue of pride, the issue of image. The issue of wanting to be seen in a certain way before others, something all humanity struggles with. He addresses it.
Which, kind of comes back and answers that question that I was asking of you of like, what about if it's true? What about if, I need to say this, and when it comes to wisdom in the position of the heart, I'm reminded of that quote by Andy Stanley, or the question that he commonly asks, which is just, what is the wise thing to do? Often we think in right and wrong. But what if we ask the question this week? And maybe that's a challenge for our crews, that when we come across things or we think we need to say something or we're not sure what to say, often a sobering question is, what is the wise thing to do? And ultimately, a lot of the time they will go, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that.
And with that, the M word, motivation. Why? Because you might say truth or not truth, but motivation is, why do I want to say that? And having a bit of self-awareness. And then also being aware of it, am I actually wanting to love this person? Or just speak my truth, as they say these days? Because the motivation needs to be for God and for love and for people. So
Perfect place to finish. I hope that encourages you and challenges you, not just to walk out your faith with Jesus, but to mature in your faith with Jesus. We'll be back for chapter 4, and we pray that this blesses you. Love you, church.